The birthday candle burned down slowly, melting into a crooked puddle of wax, while the girl sat perfectly still, hands folded on her lap, eyes fixed on nothing and everything at once. Around her, laughter burst from every corner of the cafe, plates clinked, families leaned toward one another, and joy moved freely, except at her table, where silence sat heavier than the wheelchair beneath her. It was her birthday, and she was alone, not because she wanted to be, but because life had learned how to take things from her without asking. If you believe that small moments of kindness can change lives, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone you care about, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us that second chances still exist. She had once been a girl who ran, not just walked but ran, through gardens, down school hallways, across beaches during family vacations that now felt like scenes from a movie she had watched too many times. She was the daughter of a powerful CEO, surrounded by luxury, opportunity, and everything money could buy. But money had not stopped the accident. It had not slowed the speeding truck or softened the impact. It had not convinced her spine to heal, and it had not taught the people around her how to stay when things became uncomfortable. Her mother, the CEO, had tried at first. Therapy appointments filled calendars, doctors spoke in careful tones, and hope was rationed like something fragile. But over time, board meetings grew longer, responsibility heavier, and guilt easier to avoid than face. The daughter understood this more than anyone realized. She saw it in the way her mother kissed her forehead quickly, in the rushed smiles, in the assistant who was always the one pushing her wheelchair. Love remained, but presence faded. And on her birthday, presence mattered more than gifts. The cafe had been her choice. She liked the large windows and the way sunlight spilled. Across the floor, pretending warmth could fix everything. The staff had placed a small cake in front of her, lit a single candle, and sung softly before moving on to louder tables. She smiled politely, thanked them, and waited. Minutes passed. Then more. The candle burned lower. No one came. Her phone remained silent. She did not cry. She had learned that tears often embarrassed people, and embarrassment made them leave. Across the room, a man stood near the counter, balancing 2 juice boxes and a paper bag of pastries while keeping one eye on a small boy beside him. He was a single father, worn down in a quiet way, the kind that came from years of responsibility without applause. His son tugged at his sleeve, pointing toward the girl by the window, curiosity written plainly on his face. The father followed his gaze and noticed the cake, the candle nearly gone, the way the girl's shoulders were, slightly hunched, as if bracing for something invisible. He had known loneliness too well to ignore it. After his wife passed, invitations had slowly stopped. People did not know what to say to grief, just as they did not know how to sit beside pain. He and his son had learned to become their own small world, celebrating milestones together, making space where others had disappeared. Seeing the girl, he felt that familiar ache in his chest, the one that urged him to do something even when logic said to mind his own business. He guided his son toward her table, not with boldness, but with a gentle respect, as if asking permission without words. He did not speak loudly or draw attention. He simply made room. The boy smiled in a way that held no judgment, only curiosity and warmth. The girl noticed them then, startled at first, then unsure. She was used to pity, to careful looks, to people who spoke around her instead of to her, but this felt different. It felt normal. They sat. Plates were shared. The boy talked endlessly about school, about dinosaurs, about how birthdays should always have 2 cakes just in case one fell. The father listened, occasionally adding a quiet comment, but mostly watching the girl's expression soften in ways it hadn't all afternoon. She laughed once, quick and surprised, as if the sound had escaped without permission. It startled her more than anyone. For the first time that day, she did not feel like an obligation or a tragedy. She felt included. She felt like a girl celebrating her birthday in a cafe full of noise and life. The candle finally went out, unnoticed, because something brighter had taken its place. Across the city, in a glass-walled office high above the streets, Her mother sat frozen in front of a screen displaying surveillance footage from the cafe. An assistant had pulled it up after realizing the CEO's daughter was not where she was supposed to be. Panic had surged first, followed by shame. Watching now, she saw her daughter sitting alone, then saw the man and child approach. Her instinctive fear twisted into something else entirely when she saw her daughter smile. That smile broke something open inside her. She remembered all the meetings she had prioritized, all the times she had convinced herself that providing financially was enough. She had believed strength meant not stopping. But watching a stranger give her daughter what she had failed to give, time, presence, warmth, made her realize how wrong she had been. By the time she reached the cafe, her heart was pounding harder than it had during any negotiation. She stood outside first, watching through the window like an outsider to her own child's life. She saw her daughter leaning slightly forward, engaged, alive in a way she had not seen in months. And she saw the single father, tired, kind, unassuming, treating her daughter not as fragile glass but as a person. When she finally entered, the girl looked up and saw her mother standing there, breathless, eyes wet. For a brief moment, old fear returned, the fear of disappointment, of being forgotten again. But her mother moved quickly this time, kneeling beside her wheelchair without caring who watched, holding her hands tightly as if anchoring herself to the present. Nothing dramatic was said. No apologies could fix years of absence in a moment. But something shifted. The mother stayed. She sat. She listened. She thanked the man and his son with a sincerity that stripped away titles and power, leaving only a parent who understood she had almost lost something precious without even noticing. Days passed, then weeks. The single father did not disappear from their lives. He had not intended to become anything more than a moment of kindness, but moments have a way of growing roots. The girl asked about him. The mother invited him and his son for coffee again, then dinner, then quiet afternoons where conversation flowed easily. There was no romance at first, only trust, built slowly and carefully, like something fragile that deserved respect. The girl began to change. Not miraculously, not in ways movies like to exaggerate, but in ways that mattered. She laughed more. She asked to go out instead of staying in. She pushed herself harder in therapy, motivated not by pressure but by hope. The single father encouraged her without expectation. He celebrated small victories the way he celebrated his sons, fully, joyfully, without conditions. Her mother changed too. Meetings ended earlier. Assistants learned to work around family time instead of the other way around. She attended therapy sessions, learned what her daughter needed emotionally, not just medically. She began to understand that leadership at work meant nothing if she failed at love at home. One afternoon, months later, the girl celebrated another milestone, not a birthday, but something just as important. She stood, briefly, supported by bars and hands that believed in her. Tears flowed freely this time, not from loneliness, but from pride. The single father watched from the doorway with his son, both clapping like it was the greatest achievement they had ever seen. And maybe it was. Just before the ending, take a moment and comment below with the word hope if you believe kindness can still change lives. The cafe became a place they returned to often, the same window, the same sunlight. But now, the girl was never alone. She understood something she hadn't before, that life could take much from you, but it could also give unexpectedly, through strangers who chose compassion over convenience. She learned that family could grow, not by blood, but by choice. And on a quiet afternoon, as she watched the man help his son with homework and her mother laugh freely beside them, she realized her life had not ended with the accident. It had simply changed direction. Pain had introduced her to people who stayed. Loneliness had taught her the value of one sincere act. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you to notice the people sitting quietly in the corners of life, please like this video, share it, and let us know in the comments. Your engagement helps keep stories of kindness alive and reminds the world that sometimes all it takes is one person willing to ask and one person willing to stay.